The phrase, "pay yourself first," is commonly presented as a personal finance rule. Within the United States financial system, it operates as a liquidity routing principle. Its impact emerges from how income enters, moves through, and exits household financial infrastructure. The U.S. household exists inside a highly ordered flow of money. Income arrives through payroll systems on predetermined cycles. Outflows operate on overlapping schedules that include automated withdrawals, card-based transactions, subscription billing. These outflows are designed for speed and priority. Savings mechanisms occupy a different position in this structure. They require deliberate allocation and are positioned later in the flow. This ordering determines outcomes long before individual decisions occur. When income reaches a primary checking account, it immediately becomes accessible to multiple extraction mechanisms. Debit networks, ACH pulls, digital wallets, and recurring charges can all interact with that balance without delay. The checking account functions as a high-velocity node. It maximizes movement rather than retention. Savings vehicles function differently. They introduce separation, delay, and limited accessibility. These features alter how quickly funds re-enter transactional circulation. From a system perspective, savings accounts operate as containment layers. Pay yourself first changes the sequence of exposure. Funds redirected early encounter fewer extraction paths. Funds left in transactional environments encounter many. The difference arises from infrastructure placement, not personal resolve. Timing plays a central role. Income is episodic. Expenses operate continuously. Systems that access funds immediately after income arrival gain a disproportionate share of liquidity. Early allocation establishes a priority claim before continuous extraction begins. This priority alters downstream dynamics. Obligations continue as designed, yet discretionary liquidity adjusts automatically. The system adapts without requiring ongoing intervention. Account architecture amplifies this effect. Most U.S. households maintain multiple financial interfaces simultaneously. Checking accounts, buy now pay later services, investment platforms, and subscription dashboards present fragmented views of financial capacity. No single interface reflects the entire balance sheet. Fragmentation weakens liquidity awareness. Spending decisions occur within partial contexts. Early consolidation of funds into fewer destinations reduces fragmentation effects. This changes how much liquidity appears available at the transaction layer. The result is a structural adjustment in perceived capacity that originates from account design rather than behavioral effort. Automation further reinforces this mechanism. Payroll systems process income with predictable precision. Many outflows match that precision through scheduled withdrawals. Savings allocations that operate at the same automation layer align with this environment. Allocations that operate later must compete with established automated claims. Competition rarely favors the later entrant. This explains why late-cycle saving attempts exhibit low persistence. They encounter a fully activated extraction network. Early cycle allocation executes before that network completes initialization. There is also an informational dimension. Transaction-heavy accounts generate continuous behavioral signals. These signals inform offer targeting, credit prompts, and pricing adjustments across platforms. Funds that remain in high-frequency environments increase signal density. Funds diverted early reduce signal exposure associated with discretionary liquidity. Lower signal density changes how platforms respond over time. Interactions become less reactive. Offer pressure decreases. Extraction velocity stabilizes. These outcomes arise from data flow characteristics embedded in platform design. Income volatility introduces another layer. Even among salaried workers, bonuses, variable hours, and irregular compensation components create fluctuations. When long-term allocation occurs early, volatility is absorbed by flexible spending categories. When allocation occurs late, volatility impacts accumulation directly. Systems distribute shocks toward the most adaptable layer. Consumption absorbs variation more effectively than reserves. Early routing aligns shock absorption with system flexibility. From an analytical standpoint, pay yourself first persists across decades because it counteracts a consistent structural bias. The U.S. financial system prioritizes circulation efficiency. Retention requires intentional routing. Framing this concept as a habit understates its function. Habits operate at the individual level. Routing operates at the system level. When implemented as routing, the mechanism does not depend on motivation, reminders, or discipline. It executes once per income cycle and alters the entire downstream flow. This is why outcomes differ sharply based on implementation point. The principle succeeds when integrated into payroll timing and account architecture. It weakens when treated as a residual action performed after exposure. Part 2 will examine how employer payroll design, fintech automation, and platform incentives interact with this routing principle. It will also explain why the effectiveness of pay yourself first declined for many households after account proliferation, and how system-aware configurations restore its impact without relying on behavioral correction. The effectiveness of early allocation within the U.S. financial system depends on placement inside the income distribution chain. Over time, changes in payroll architecture, platform automation, and account proliferation have altered how this mechanism functions. These structural shifts explain why identical income levels can produce divergent long-term outcomes. Payroll systems represent the earliest controllable layer. Employers initiate income distribution through standardized settlement processes designed for accuracy and timing consistency. Once triggered, these processes deliver funds to predetermined endpoints with minimal friction. Most households route income into a single primary transaction account. This convention reflects historical convenience rather than structural optimization. Transaction accounts evolved to support movement, settlement, and accessibility. Their design prioritizes throughput. Modern payroll infrastructure allows income to be divided before reaching that transaction layer. Multiple destination routing enables funds to bypass high-velocity environments entirely. Allocation at this stage changes exposure conditions. Funds never enter systems optimized for rapid circulation. This distinction matters because extraction mechanisms activate immediately upon deposit. Subscriptions, scheduled transfers, digital wallets, and merchant authorizations respond automatically. Routing income upstream prevents activation of these mechanisms for the diverted portion. Automation reinforces execution order. Instructions embedded earlier execute reliably. Instructions scheduled later compete for remaining liquidity. Automation follows priority, not intention. As households accumulate subscriptions and recurring obligations, later scheduled allocations lose execution reliability. Missed transfers increase. Adjustments occur. Over time, early automation persists while late automation degrades. Fintech expansion intensified these dynamics. Platforms compete on speed, visibility, and engagement. Instant balance updates, real-time prompts, and embedded spending interfaces increase interaction frequency. Funds remaining in transactional environments encounter continuous stimuli. Account proliferation compounds exposure. Households now manage multiple apps, dashboards, and interfaces. Each interface presents a partial view of funds. Fragmented visibility alters perceived capacity. Decisions occur in isolated contexts rather than against a unified balance sheet. Early allocation reduces fragmentation by consolidating value into fewer locations. Funds held outside daily dashboards fade from transactional awareness. Apparent available liquidity decreases at the interaction layer without reducing income. Platform incentives favor circulation. Engagement metrics, transaction activity, and behavioral data drive product optimization. Dormant funds generate limited platform value. Active funds generate signals. Funds removed early generate fewer signals. Interaction intensity declines. Offer frequency stabilizes. Behavioral pressure decreases organically. Employer-sponsored long-term accounts demonstrate this effect clearly. Contributions deducted before income reaches transactional visibility maintain high persistence. Participation remains stable across economic cycles due to placement within payroll flow. The same structural advantage applies to any allocation integrated at the payroll layer. Timing determines durability. Settlement speed further compresses decision windows. Modern payment rails execute transfers rapidly. The interval between income arrival and system response continues to shrink. Manual actions operate too slowly to intercept this sequence. Early routing eliminates timing mismatch. Allocation completes before system activation. Data aggregation platforms add another layer. Financial dashboards monitor activity, categorize flows, and generate prompts. Funds absent from monitored environments reduce algorithmic engagement. Fewer alerts appear. Adaptive extraction strategies weaken. Income variability highlights the importance of routing. Bonuses, commissions, and irregular components introduce fluctuation. When routed upstream, variability integrates smoothly into long-term accumulation. When exposed to transactional environments, variability triggers immediate system responses. Systems absorb volatility where flexibility exists. Consumption layers adapt more easily than reserve layers. Early allocation directs variability accordingly. Over time, households that route income early experience lower interaction density. Fewer notifications, fewer adjustments, and fewer reactive decisions occur. Financial activity becomes more stable and less event-driven. Observed declines in effectiveness originate from misplacement. When early allocation occurs downstream, it competes within an expanded automation ecosystem. Execution reliability erodes. The principle appears ineffective due to timing mismatch. Restoring effectiveness requires alignment with execution order. Payroll routing, default splits, and pre-distribution allocation operate at the correct layer. Post-exposure actions operate too late. From a system analyst's perspective, early allocation functions as a routing protocol. Protocols succeed when implemented at the appropriate layer. Placement determines outcome. This explains persistence across income levels. Outcomes vary due to infrastructure configuration rather than intent or awareness. The U.S. financial system continues to reward velocity. Retention requires containment. Early routing provides containment through structure. This completes the analysis. The principle endures as a response to system design, not as guidance. Its effectiveness depends on architecture, automation priority, and platform incentives.